Last year, this is considered the busiest state park in the country. A lot of history, they spoke of a lot of good food down here, a lot of festivities going on. As I grow older, the more I appreciate the history of San Diego. I'm from San Diego, too, unfortunately. We're going to talk about the native people who came first. They're called the Kumeyaay. They've lived here for 20,000 years and lived a semi-nomadic lifestyle. Our American flag on the right marks the spot where the birthplace of California began, right there on that hill. The Kumeyaay were here 20,000 years. They lived a semi-nomadic lifestyle. They chased the seasons. During the summer months, they would be in our local houses. During the winter, they would migrate down to the beaches where it was a little bit warmer than the mountains. This house is part of the living history of San Diego. It's called the Machado House. Family Machado lived there 1820 till 1966. This became a state park in 1968. The Machado House is a place you can walk in right now and experience what it was like to live in San Diego when they had about 300 residents in San Diego. It's a pretty small town like that. The first Europeans to find San Diego arrived from Spain. Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo planted his Spanish flag here in Old Town. They tried to claim this land as Spanish. They did not achieve that. This was still Kumeyaay land. 1769, this became Spanish with Father Hernando Serra. He established the first of the 21 missions of California mission system right here in San Diego. So that's the first one. And up on that hill where that mission happened, and that's why we call this area the birthplace of California. 21 missions all together at the other end of this system is Sonoma, California, 620 miles to the north. Growing up in San Diego, I was a little confused with the distance between the mission and the river of San Diego. Seemed a bit out of order. I'll show you where the river is right now. So you got an idea where the mission was, up on the hill where the flag is. And if you look to your right, down these train tracks, you're going to see the bridges of Interstate 8. Just past that, the bridge that goes over the river of San Diego. That's a half a mile away from the water. The mission is, it makes sense to me. Well, what I didn't know is the river of San Diego used to be right here. This is the ancient riverbed. They moved it about 1850. The river used to flow down this street into Point Loma, into the Bay of San Diego, and it was causing silt buildup and navigation hazards. So they moved the river to where it is today. So I didn't know that called that. The road that connects all the missions from San Diego to Sonoma, California, it's called the El Camino Real, and that began at this intersection right here. It means the King's Highway, if you translate that from Spanish. But it wasn't a highway, it was more like a dirt path, and it started right here. And it went up to the next mission, which is what they consider a day's walk. Another point of I didn't agree with this one also. It was considered a day's walk between each mission. But it's 30 miles. 30 miles is no day's walk, I'm sorry. Yeah, push besides the next mission, then they have San Juan Capistrano. If you like wine in California, each of the missions brought its own vineyard. So wine didn't exist here until the missionaries brought the wine. So San Diego's the oldest mission, and we do make a type of wine called Primo. It's a very Zinfandel, it's very tasty. It's grown out of East County, but the more famous wines, of course, have been Napa, Sonoma, California, Amador. We're a military town, and we're proud of our history. On the left side of the road is a massive building where they used to make B-24 bombers. Service Airport. We're not going to be all at lanes. It's too narrow, too short. But you'll have more airplanes right now, and you can really operate 17 hours a day. Fortunately, I would say if I had my visitors, I would prefer they kept it at 17 hours. We live almost left here, so I'm not saying that. I can say, please don't operate it on the clock. I would. Before it was known as San Diego International Airport, for many generations it was known as Limerick Field. Charles Limerick has a lot of San Diego history. He's also the first known person to cross the Atlantic solo by air. The contest began in 1919 by a hotelier. His name was Ortiz. He offered the public a $25,000 prize for the first man or woman who would cross the Atlantic solo by air. Most people looked at this challenge and said, no thank you. Airplanes were primitive. Communication systems at best were primitive. So most people are wise enough not to take on the challenge. And the $25,000, although it sounds like a pittance, it was about enough money to buy about 10 or 15 houses in San Diego. Back in 1990, you think about the price of a house today in San Diego, that's a lot of money. Limerick came out here with $2,000 to spot. Oh, by the way, there were 10 people who tried before Limerick who were never seen again, presumed lost at sea. 3 others were seriously injured. So Limerick came up to San Diego with $2,000 in his pocket. Hoping he had enough money to build a plane to fly across the Atlantic. He did not have enough. He had $10,500. He met with a group of people from St. Louis who said, we'll cover the rest of the cost if we can get 2 things. We want to name the airplane. We also want to name the pilot. Limerick said, I can pilot. But I would be honored, privileged, and honored, humbled, obviously, if I get a chance to fly the Spirit of St. Louis. The airplane itself was built directly across the street from our airport. I'll show you exactly where. And there are many challenges to build this airplane. There are a lot of unknowns. They didn't know how much gas was needed. They put an extra giant, supersized gas tank on this airplane. It's so large, Limerick could not even see out of the windshield of the plane it's flying. So they put a periscope together so they could see with one eye. Another challenge, no bathroom. Another airplane right now, small Interjet. Limerick could not speak the night before of the scheduled flight across the Atlantic. So he had to stay awake about 60 hours across the Atlantic. Literally, the wire radio in 1957. Yes, he did. In the following year, Amelia Earhart became the first woman across the Atlantic. These 2 historic figures helped raise the public consciousness of the inevitability that one embraced as mode of transportation. It is a safe way of travel. There are about 60 airports around the country that wanted to call Limerick Field. And you only get to San Diego because it's history here. The airplane itself, everybody, I want you to know this was built in this building right here in the corner across the street. Back in the 20s, it was a small operation, a small building called Ryan Airline. Sunshine's out, it's a beautiful day. Pretty typical weather for spring. You get some clouds in the morning and some clouds in the evening. Clouds in the evening keep it a little bit warmer. It insulates the air, makes it a little bit moister, so it keeps the heat inside a little longer. But believe it or not, it gets a little cooler faster. So weather out here is very mild all year long. Not a whole lot of rain. We get about 9.9 inches of rain this year. It's been a dry year. Deep down, we've had about 4.5 inches. So I don't think we're going to get any more rain for the year. Maybe about half our annual rainfall. It will be cooler too. Not much. And here we are at the beautiful Bay of San Diego. There comes the Zumwalt. That's the Navy ships coming in off the north end of the bay right there. That's one of the most modern warships in the world right there. Part of the Zumwalt class. They reduced the crew numbers so much with these modern ships, it's crazy, and with the costly ships, like that's $1 billion ship right there. The aircraft carriers, I think they're closer to 10 itself is 14 miles long from Point Loma in the north, Imperial Beach in the south, 54 miles of shoreline. The aircraft carriers is about the deepest part of our bay, 55 feet deep. Living in San Diego is a challenge financially, especially if you grow up here and you want to stay home. It is now the most expensive large city in the country, even more expensive than Honolulu. It's true. Give you some perspective of the expense. This neighborhood's called Little Italy. The rent starts at $3,500 a month for a small studio. Now, I will offer you an alternative to that high price of living, but you hear the whole story. The hardest part of my proposal is the subspace you're going to need for your boat. You might be thinking already, I have to get a boat too. Don't they stand for bus now? Another 1,000 BOAD? Yes, they do. Two happiest days of a boat owner, the day you buy and sell your boat. That's also true. But if you can swing it, so let's just do some math here. 2 months rent down here at the cheapest level is about $7,000. Or maybe spend $5,000 on the boat that's about the size of a small studio. You would own the boat, and the hard part is that slip space. It's only $200 a month, but it's about once every 4 to 10 years you can get one. So it's pretty hard. And I have I feel like I'm talking to myself when I do this story. I have adult children still living at home. My older son just passed 468 months old. Okay, the math on that means he's 39. He turned 39 May 5th. You can be wrong. So he's 39 and change. Except he's not moving out, so no change. Every generation defines itself. My kids love to travel quite a lot, so that's what they like to do. I did get a text from my older son, Jared, about 6 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. He was in Venice on a boat, so he had somebody giving him some grapes while he was on one of those gondolas. He said, copyright idea, the boat's good. We're moving in the right direction. Maybe by the time he's 50, he'll find his way. Yeah, my kids are great, though. Yeah, one of my aunts did this boat thing. She lived in the north part of the bay, and it was free back in those days, about 45 years ago. So they've added a lot of boats, but the availability of those is really scarce. We're hard to get less on. Fun things to do in San Diego, pretty much anything. We've got everything from riding bikes to riding horses to going surfing, hang gliding, golfing. We have about 70 golf courses in San Diego. It's pretty much wide open out here year round too. So it's not just when the weather's nice. It's nice all year. But if you want to go. Our first stop is called the Maritime Museum. And I'm from San Diego, and I've only been to the Maritime Museum once. Actually, been inside. That was yesterday. So our company hired out one of these boats. So we can have a meeting here with about 100 from Castle. And I could see a few of these boats. And it was really, I found it very stimulating and interesting. So I would like to go back to it. My girlfriend's done it with her son, and I'm going to get on it one of these days. This is a private boat right here. Get away a little bit. This boat shows up about once or twice a year. I think the owner of this boat started funded the UFC fight club. Guys in the ring, so he has a private ship in the next area up forward. Outermost ship on your right is called the California. So why are they go up in Arnold Schwarzenegger as the official tall ship of California? And there's a space in between these two boats where they're doing some work on the San Salvador. That's my favorite boat in the bay. I didn't get to see it yesterday without getting retrofitted. We've got the pilot's also out right now. That's usually next to that white boat. The pilot goes around the bay for about 45 minutes, only $10. It's a good deal. California goes out in the water, in the ocean. It's about a 3-hour tour. The lady that's on the gangway about to get on the double, and that's it directly in the 1960s. This is the Berkeley. It saved a lot of American lives in San Francisco during the earthquake and fires of 1906. It has a sister ship named Oakland. I was on this boat yesterday. This is called the HMS Surprise. It was used as a movie set for the Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp.
That's like that. Yeah.
That's true. And here we are, our first stop at the Maritime Museum. By the way, if you were a pirate back in the day, it didn't cost a lot for your earrings. They cost only about $1 a year. That's a joke, okay? And here we are at the Maritime Museum. Trolleys until 4:15. Trolleys every 20 minutes. Hop on, hop off. Maritime Museum. And this ship on right, but you got okay. Okay, enjoy yourselves the last trolleys at 4:15. Trolley's every 20 minutes. I'll walk them home.
So when we get to that Coronado, it's the stop right before
There you go. All right.
So that's going to be perfect.
Now we've got a bunch of school kids on this. Am I right? Start it is the oldest navigable iron hull ship in the world. I was on this boat yesterday, three boats you guys can check out. We've got a guy dressed up in pirate gear there. 268 feet. When this boat was built, Abraham Lincoln was given the Gettysburg Address during the Civil War. It is a navigable ship. It still sails. Last time I saw it sailing was Veterans Day weekend about 20 months ago. And it went all the way up to the ocean and it doesn't have a combustible engine on it. All it is sail. And it made its way in a really tight wind. It's twice the wind it was when it was not sailing. Yeah, Rickety, good place for seafood. Good place for house salad. Our next stop is going to be the Midway stop. Embarcadero.
We're familiar. I'm next.
A little restaurant here. This restaurant row. They call it the Gills. They have one in Old Town too, and one in Point Home as well. You want to get good price for food. Their happy hour special is only $7. And we have a black marlin coffee. We enjoy that with some good chocolate. We had one Tuesday night. We come here pretty frequently, but every Gills is open right here. All the chicken if you want for pretty close to the door view. So one of these private boats is a little bit bigger than this one. Come here to that other boat part of it. So boat to the left. There's a lot of pretty rich people around the world. San Diego. You got some more rich too. Over here, this next dark area. It's about 379 feet long. And he bought it from a Russian military camp. It was part of their that boat only has the tickets room for 24 guests, yet it has full-size tennis court for it too. That's crazy. And the subspace in that place is about 25,000 a day. For that guy, no. And here we are at our Midway stop. We call this the Embarcadero. Hop on, hop off all day. Last trolley's at 4:20. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome aboard. Thank you. We'll see you later. Go miss your last trolley. It's at 4:20.
Look at better with this. I even have an orange t-shirt. Yes, a lot of great choices. Like what's this last
Our next stop will be Seaport Village. All right, everybody, let's continue our tour. Let's talk baseball. On the opposite side of the road, we've got some grass. There used to be a baseball field. It's a part of it. Home plate is right there. It's Lane Field. And one of the greatest baseball players of all time played on that PCL. That's Pacific Coast League. It's minor league. Ted Williams was born about 4 miles right here. Ted Williams was on the Red Sox. Played for the Red Sox for 19 years. While he was a Red Sox, he was a Navy pilot during World War II. He was also a Korean War vet. While he was the Red Sox, he was appointed to John Lennon became the astronaut and sensor later. Anyway, this is number 4. feet tall. He has her in a headlock. You see his hands? Yeah, he went military. And she is not a nurse. I thought for sure she was a nurse. She was a dental hygienist. It was EJ Day, the day the Japanese surrendered, ending World War II. The sailors, you saw the headline, went into a state of euphoria and grabbed any woman they could. He put her in a headlock. It lasted 1 second. And that was it. It's very tastefully done with the backdrop of the Midway, which is a real warship, and the real active ships behind that too. They have a Bob Hope tribute over there who entertained the troops during several wars. He lived 100 years old, and there's a lot of audio clips of him. Again, something very tastefully done in this area.
That's cute. We did go to there. He took us a lot of pictures. But I do remember hearing that they were not.
We have a ship named after San Diego, and it's honored and memorialized on this red granite on the right. The USS San Diego was in World War II. There's an image of her done in bas relief. She was in World War II as a light cruiser. She has some interesting story. She was involved in 34 battles in World War II, which is quite extraordinary. That's a lot. The Navy awarded her 18 battle stars. That's the second most in the history of our Navy. So here's the big one about the San Diego. 34 battles in World War II, 18 battle stars. And no sailors were ever lost who served on the San Diego. Think about that. 34 battles in World War II, no sailors were lost. Miracle.
Oh, yeah. Notice this animal over here on your zoo trip. Yeah. I feed him donuts. Have a good day.
I know he did wrong. Unlimited. I saw one. And then there's one right here. And they used to have them in Mecca, and then they closed it. But they just opened a new one. So I went when I was there.
We're coming into the Seaport Village area, and
There's one there.
The old police headquarters. Now it's a free, unguided museum. This was an operation.
And then I saw the
Late
other
30s till late 80s, and it's now open to the
one.
public.
Yes, we
And it was
did.
considered state of the art during its time. It has a 4-lane bowling alley inside of it. They took pretty good care of their officers.
I know that. Really good. And then they had cheese biscuits. And pineapples. Like a little fine cheese. Looks like cheese, but it was
Seaport Village was built with the Disney Imagineers. So they put a little bit of Disneyland magic in the middle of this area. This was built in 1978 when they dredged the bay and added a little bit of San Diego's underwater material to make this area we call Seaport Village. Come into existence about 13 acres, 14 acres. So we hired the Disney Imagineers to build this the same way they built part of Disneyland up in Anaheim. You've been to Disneyland. Main Street USA and It's a Small World is built slightly smaller scale. You might not know this about the park, but they built that area just the same way they built this area. And if you walk around here, because the buildings are slightly smaller, you will feel slightly taller. If you're 5 foot tall, you'll feel about 5'5" without heels, because the buildings are 70 scale, they're a little bit smaller. And if you're 6 feet tall, you'll feel about 6'6". We have a Ben & Jerry's ice cream on this side of the street, and a Ben & Jerry's ice cream on that side of the street. The Seal is part of our group. This is a good day to go out and seal. Over here on my left, that boat. That's a vehicle that's an amphibious vehicle. It goes out in the bay for about 1 hour. You will see seals. You will see dolphins. And it's not unheard of to see a whale or two in the bay. behind that is Point Loma, Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery. It's right there also, across the bay. Coronado, we're going to see beautiful Coronado in about 20 minutes, depending on traffic. To give you some perspective of those aircraft carrier size, these two towers downtown are the tallest buildings downtown San Diego. The one on the left is 497 feet. The aircraft carriers are more than twice as tall as those buildings. They're 1,100 feet long. 5,000 to 6,000 men and women work on these ships every day. And they only refuel once every 25 years. How is that possible? Well, they don't go anywhere, that's why. That's not true. No, they are nuclear powered. Nuclear powered, so they can go 25 years without refueling. We have 11 aircraft carriers in our Navy. The closest country to America is China. It has 3. Most countries that have an aircraft carrier or 2 are generally antiquated. Ours are state of the art. Crack taco over here on my right. That place is always busy. Not because there's any crack in those tacos, by the way. And here we are at Seaport Village. So take your time on those stairs on the way down. Hop on, hop off. Trolleys every 20 minutes. If you want to go to the next stop, we'll be going around and around all day long. But have a look at some of these beautiful places. Watch your step on that bottom stair, and yeah, watch yourself in there. Trolleys every 20 minutes. Hop on, hop off all day long. There you go. Very nice. Very good. Okay, guys. You're very welcome, guys. Enjoy yourselves out there. It's time to bring out our safety officer who's going to cover our safety rules. This guy's a bit of a grumpy person. Don't let that bother you or make your vacation hamper a bit, but you have to say something about our safety rules.
I'm back. I have some advice for all you travelers out there in the tour. You had better stay seated while we're in motion. Keep your body parts inside at all times. Watch out for those low-hanging branches. They're not friendly. No smoking or alcoholic beverages, or you might be terminated. We want you back.
San Diego's been the site of movie making since movies were invented in the late 1800s. At least 700 movies filmed on location right here in San Diego. We're close to Hollywood, about 120 miles south of Hollywood. So we offer a lot of good weather and good locations. That's why there's been so many movies filmed here. One of my favorite movies filmed in San Diego was The Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Anybody see that one? I don't hear anybody saying yes. Okay, how about this one? Kansas City Barbecue across the street, they filmed Top Gun. They're part of it. 2 different scenes. One of them is the piano bar scene. So Goose and Mal were having a little discussion around the piano. Young Meg Ryan comes in, says hi to her husband. She says, Goose, you great big stud, you better give me now or the marriage is over. What did Goose do? Well, Goose was at the piano, so he did this on the piano.
You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will, oh what a thrill. This is crazy, spring falls apart. I let you love what I thought I was blind you. You came along and whoo, you hot it. I changed my mind. Still is mine. Falls apart.
One place for food, we have 2 rows of palm trees on the opposite side of the street where our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. walking promenade is. All of his inspirational quotes are here. Behind that, another great building with some solar paneling on it. That's the Children's Museum, brought down here from La Jolla by Dr. Seuss. That's right here from Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss lived in La Jolla 1947 till 1991. And I grew up in La Jolla, not too far from his house. I didn't know where his house was though. It's kind of a well-kept secret. And I kind of figured he might show up at our school and read stories. He sold 600 million children's books while he was alive. And then I graduated from 8th grade and left that school, went on to high school, and forgot about it. About 10 years ago, I got a call from the Geisel family. That's Dr. Seuss. And they hired me to do what I've been doing in San Diego for 40 years. So I got to meet them and do some work for them for many, many years. So what a neat house on top of Mount Soledad. There we are at the Marriott Marquis, top of the line for luxury hospitality around the world, Marriott chain. One of them in San Diego, one of the ones in New York. That's Trolley today, and this spot is at 4:30. Hop on all day. Trolley's in 20 minutes. Very important. Downtown San Diego is our next story. It began 1867. There was nothing here before that. All was here was sagebrush. It was pretty dry in San Diego, so not a lot of things here. But there was a lot of rabbits. Thousands of them. In fact, they call this whole area Rabbitville. And most of the locals look at this area as a wasteland. They didn't want to do anything with it. Mr. Horton saw something different here. He saw a city in the future, and he wanted to be the one to build it. This is relatively flat land. Mr. Horton came down from San Francisco, where he was established as a successful businessman. He went to Old Town to ask the question, how do I buy this land? The county clerk of deeds in our downtown, Old Town, well, before that was, that was our only town, said, don't waste your money down here, sir. This is all considered a wasteland. So that's what people thought of this area. Nobody wanted to build here. So Mr. Ward was really dead set about the idea of building down here, and the clerk wasn't going to convince him Old Town was a better deal. So there was going to be a land auction the following week. He said maybe it would suit me well to go to that land auction and bid on some land. He did. He sat in the front row, eager to make a bid on the first piece of land that came up for auction. It was 100 acres. Mr. Horton only bid $1 an acre. And what came next? Silence. Nobody wanted it. And that meant he spent too much money on this land for $1 an acre. So he lowered his bidding. Nobody else is going to compete with them. If you get this land for cheaper. He bought 800 acres of downtown San Diego for $265. This was 1867. In 2025, that would be about $5,700 for a mile and a quarter of downtown San Diego. So he became the richest man in Southern California. All the other people who had a chance to buy this land were told it was a wasteland, and they missed out on really an opportunity that happens once every several thousand lifetimes. I'm going to show you how they built it out by doing a slow turn right now on the market. As you look to your right, when I make this right turn, you will notice that the street lights are very close together. These are very small blocks. Small blocks means you're getting more corner lots. Corner lots are more valuable. So he was a smart man for making small blocks. There are no alleys down here. This is built like New York City a little bit. The types of businesses that were thriving when this all tied together were basically saloons, card rooms, and gentlemen's clubs. These were the Wild West days. And on your right, on this corner, the Tire Cafe, that was built in 1911. That is the original stained leaded glass that became the center of jazz in San Diego back in the 1950s. On the corner, K-corner for me on my left, everything on that block is called the Century Block. It's all 100 years or older. So not that old, but for San Diego's downtown, that is pretty old. Both sides of our street now have the gas lamp lighting. One thing about San Diego, way back in those days, if you came out here and wanted to make your house, you better have brought it because there was no wood to build your house when you got here. So that's what people did. They brought their houses to San Diego to live here. And here's an example. This is a very old house made of wood that was built on the east coast of America, Portland, Maine, and shipped out to San Diego. That's how it got here. It wasn't built here with wood from San Diego because it did not exist. So you brought your house to San Diego. And here we are at the Gaslamp District. Trolley's every 20 minutes. The last one's at 4:35. Hop on, hop off all day. Nope, there's seats.
All right.
Thanks, Tim.
Sure, everybody.
So that's it.
I'm sorry, Gaslamp District 34. Gaslamp 32. 32 Gaslamp. Downtown San Diego was inhabited by some of those old West legends that we read about. One of them was Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp was a San Diego between 1886 until 1892. He had 3 saloons in the downtown area. One of them was it was about $25,000 a month. Way back in those days, that was a gigantic fortune. You could have bought probably about 100 houses back in those days for that kind of money. I've seen a lot of up and down times in the downtown area. What's really changed downtown for the better? is Petco Park, where the Padres play baseball. It's about 3 blocks ahead of us. We'll see that soon. And we'll talk about that when we get a better look at it. I can see it right now, but we'll get a better view. Old Spaghetti Factory up on your right across the street. Opened its doors 1974. I remember that too. But that building is an old building. It goes back to about 1870. About 100 years older than when they opened up.
Chicken sandwiches.
It's not much older than about 1870. It's one of the oldest thing downtown San Diego. At nighttime, this place becomes a pretty lively place. Hang out, get some food, entertainment. Especially on weekends, and this weekend's going to be a busy weekend for tourists. Memorial Day weekend going into Monday. Right in front of us is the San Diego Convention Center, home of the Comic Con. This is where it's always been. Comic Con has always been here in San Diego. And it's a big thing. It really is. Last year's Comic Con, we had 300,000 people show up. Movie sets outside, celebrity panels inside. All the buildings covered and wrapped, and they're advertising the next TV show or movie that's out there. And there's Petco Park, everybody on your left. Voted #1 ballpark in the country by sports writers due to the last 6 years. Home with the Padres, and you love baseball. I want to hear your favorite team right now. Here we are at Petco all day long. Welcome aboard! So we're going to go from baseballs to bananas. The next story is about bananas. On your right is the Gold Corporation. They import fruit. #1 fruit that brings to America is bananas. There's just a banana boat right over here on my right on the port. We are the 450th port on the west coast of North America. The Gold Corporation has the most refrigerator and container units in the world. And there's a story about the grandfather keeping his family out there over 100 years ago. And tried his first banana album. Said it was the worst thing he ever ate in his life. Nobody told him he was supposed to keep his banana. get in line early because they do run out of food, but it's a good place for Mexican home. But it was 14 inches long and blue eyes and orange with red ribbons. But they did a count 20 years ago, they had 25. And about 5 years ago, they recounted, they could only find one. They might be already gone. They're disappearing. Or they may already be extinct. But we did have that one time, the largest species of sacrifice. Things to do in the barrio on the first and third Fridays of the month. Today's the fourth Friday. Next Friday will be the first Friday of June. And it will be a place to go to for stand-up comedy at the Thorn Brewery. And my girlfriend and I did this about a year ago. They had about 12 people on stage. 10 of them were hilarious. And for a free stand-up comedy show, I would recommend it to anyone. We had a great time. So they have other places where you can pay money to see comics. La Jolla has a comedy store. You're going to find more famous comics there, more seasoned comics. We got to see Robin Williams play there live in 1985, fantastic show. Same show we saw Robin Williams, we saw Sam Kinison, who was also still alive back in the day. Those places you're going to see the more famous comics, but it costs you a lot of money to go to the show there. This one's free, and I recommend it. It's up one more block on National, go down a block to Thorn Brewery, and lots of field passes about middle of Logan, so go down one block to the left, on Logan, 2 more streets up. The best of the mural art down here in the barrio is under the bridge at Chicano Park. All of that artwork is registered with the National Registry of Art. You can see a piece of it right there. We've got a car parking illegally right now, so I'm going to go to the alternative stop. This is where we usually drop people off, but I'll be sticking out too far. It's going to safety issue, so probably we're going to pull it in right here. So we're going to use an alternative stop across the street. Okay, here we are at the barrio. The last one today in the barrio is at 4:45. Trolley 0. storefront names are changed. You can't tear any of these buildings down. You can't add stories, modify it. So it looks like you did 60 years, 70 years ago. Things haven't really changed. Next time to be in Coronado too. Very uncrowded for Friday. And especially for a Labor Day, I'm sorry, for a Memorial Day. Maybe expected to be some big crowds out here this weekend. But right now, not too bad. So with the $1 million they got from raising money by having an auction, they were able to buy $600,000 worth of wood from Northern California to build the hotel. The forests of San Diego are too thin to cut into wood, so the wood came from Northern California. Most of it was redwood. And they piped the water over from the other side of the bay, so they brought water to this island when they built the hotel. And word was spreading around the country that you can finally live in San Diego's Coronado. And to do so, most people didn't wait for the wood. There's a cluster of white houses on the left side of me. There are about 6 houses right there. Those were all built on the East Coast, put on a barge, and brought out to San Diego around 1888 to St. Peter's Hotel. The hotel became the largest wooden structure on the west coast of North America, and it brought the height of luxury to San Diego's beautiful beaches. Next story is about a much larger house. I would call it a mansion. This was built the same year, 1888, but it was built on the San Diego side of the bay when the man finished building this house. Here it is right here. He brought it over here, and this house sold 5 years ago for $19 million. Last year sold for $24 million. They're doing a lot of work on it the last 6 weeks. What will sell for it next time? I'm thinking probably more because there's nothing for sale on the beach here in Coronado. This particular beach is number 10 of the best beaches in America. Mr. Beach puts out a top 10 beach survey every year, and this is right now at number 10. The beach goes 2 miles to the north to Dallas Point. That's Point Low in the distance, Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery right over there a little bit by those trees on top. And the beach goes unbroken all the way down to Mexico. You can see a little bit of Mexico if you look down the beach, about 8 miles. It's sunny right now, and this is about as crowded as the beach ever gets, even in summer. There's very little parking here, so it's only street parking that limits the amount of people that get to use this beach. There's the lifeguard tower. If you decide to go to this beach, check in with the lifeguard, ask about the water quality, about rip currents. I'm a lifelong surfer. Be very careful wherever you enter the ocean if you're not comfortable or familiar with how ocean currents work. But it's not stopping you from walking on the beach. This is one of the last beaches in Southern California where you will find shells. Everywhere else is pretty big ocean. But so few people use this beach, you'll find some shells in this beach if you look for them. Here's an expensive house on my left. This is a 24,000 square foot house on this beach. Property tax on this, if you're thinking about buying it, $10,000. $500,000 a year. Just the property tax, not the bill beyond the butler, the maid. That's just the property tax. That takes $50 million out. There's plenty of low-budget forms to wipe that price right now. Now, you check out these beaches. This is such an uncrowded beach. It's hard to find a beach like this anywhere in Southern California that still exists because the population was so big now. But that one's like a couple thousand people at most to find on the beach. Go up to Huntington Beach, you'll find a couple 100,000 up there. A lot of our beaches during the summer months will get tens of thousands of people too, so this beach won't get that way. This is the Hotel del Coronado. Marilyn Monroe, famous actress in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, at the very top of her career, came down to San Diego to do a movie. Let's take a movie. You know this one? So like in Hot was done in the early 50s. L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, was a guest there in 1904 to 1910, and he wrote 13 books about the Wizard of Oz. If you've seen the movie with Judy Garland, the first one that came out in the 30s, one of the first colored movies ever, unofficial watering hole of the baby seals. Greg McFarland, very generous man. He was on SEAL Team 1, 1970. On the weekends, we've got great music down here. The cover charge. I'd like to give you quite a bit of something. It's got a lot of spirit. Come on all day. Our last Trolley's at 5. Before we go any further, I'm going to bring in the safety officer who's going to cover our safety rules.
Hello, sweetheart. Of all the tours in all the world, you have to walk in line. Well, I just want to clue you in on some dangerous situations. Now, lay low and stay in your seat. And keep your mitts and mugs inside, see? Smoking is bad news, and so are dames and drinking, so don't mess with them. You may not believe me now or tomorrow. Someday, for the rest of your life, you'll know that I'm right.
Oh, we're still on the island of Coronado. We're going to talk about the hotel, and we're going to finish up, depending on traffic. If we get into some bad traffic, I can extend the storytelling, but we're going to talk about the birthplace of Navy aviation, which happens right here in Coronado. The Hotel del Coronado was built in 1888 and became the largest wooden structure on the west coast of North America. It was the first thing built on the island of Coronado. Before that, there wasn't any natural occurring springs on this island, so nobody actually lived here until they built that hotel and piped the water in. That made it possible for others to live here besides the hotel. But the hotel was built way ahead of its time. San Diego was such a small town back in 1888. We had about 5,000 residents. So it was an impossible task to be able to keep that hotel from polluting. Los Angeles, the second most populous city in the country. Our sister city 2 hours to the north up through Interstate Freeway 5 was about 40,000 people. So this is before freeways, before airports, before cars and airplanes. So travel was really limited and challenging. Most people got to San Diego by steamship, and not enough people came here. So they were going to sell that hotel almost as soon as they finished building it. The man who came to its rescue financially was John Spreckles. Spreckles is one of 10 kids. His dad, Klaus Spreckles, was very successful as a grocer and a sugar baron in the island of Hawaii. His son John wanted to go to business just like his dad and ship a product from Hawaii to San Francisco, where they were headquartered. His dad said, if you're going to business though, you should be very careful because you will be replaced if you can't beat the competition. Did John need that lecture from his dad? Well, historians will tell you no. John actually had the Midas touch. Whatever he touched went to gold. So he went into business almost against his dad's wishes of shipping the product from Hawaii to San Francisco. But in a short time, he went from 1 ship to 20 ships. Now making money hand over fist. He's tremendously successful at that. He comes down to San Diego 2 years after the hotel was made. The Hotel Del was made. 1890. He meets up with the owners of the hotel and he buys the hotel and the island of Coronado. So very little land was sold off during the land auction of 1887 to raise the money to build the hotel for the first owners. So he gets the hotel and most of this island in that deal. 13 years passed and more good fortune for Mr. Spreckles. The bicycle builder, Orville Wilbur Wright, becomes famous for inventing the airplane. And the government wants to make this part of the country the birthplace of Navy aviation. John Spreckles bought the hotel and island of Coronado has a park named after him right here on your right called Spreckles Park. This is about 8 acres. During the summer months we have concerts in the parks of San Diego. This one will get about 6,000 people on it during the concerts here. If you do the shows, make sure you plan on going early because this will fill up with people. My son's band played to about 6,000 residents and fans in this park last Labor Day. It filled up 2 hours before the show. So plan early if you want to do it. It's free. I mean, my high school played in that carousel in the 70s, and we were the best marching band in the country. We were invited to the Rose Parade 4 out of 4 years. Only the best high schools were invited. We won it 3 out of 4 years, too. So, but there was about 3,000 people back in the 70s. It wasn't like it is today. San Diego's gotten a lot busier, a lot more people, a lot more things to do, but a lot more people enjoying themselves, too. John Spreckles had a situation. He's got an acre. Half my land is 2,500 acres. And so this make this $800,000 if you can own it. And they came back with, we're not buying land today, we're going to be taking it for free. He said, excuse me? No, we're selling you land. He goes, we're never going to buy it, we were going to take it. It's called eminent domain. I said, oh, I know that law too. I will see you in court. The judge sorted out. And here's what the judge said about this. I'm going to deny the government's motion to try to take this land with the eminent domain clause. They are misusing this law. Properly implemented and would be used for protecting our country during an emergency such as a war. If we need to get public land, we'll annex it, we'll take it, we'll compensate. In this case,
buzz went the buzzing.
Okay, well, a very affordable way to get your undergraduate studies done. You graduate with 4-year college and that will save some money. Get your apartment and that will your college. All three of my sisters saved some money by going to school and went on to UCSD and got their grades. I studied here too a little bit at the end of my college career. I took on philosophy and logic. After that, I was done with school. All day. I started at San Diego State when I was 17 years old, working all night at the 7-Eleven to pay my way to school. Following morning, I would take on calculus, chemistry, botany with labs. It was easy. I didn't sleep that first year. Then I listened to my best friend I met when I was working at SeaWorld when I was 16 years old. He told me I had to go to college in Hawaii for less money than going to San Diego State to work all night at 7-Eleven. I said, you gotta be kidding me. Room and board, everything. Yeah, that's surfboards included. Get your butt over here. So I did. And surfed the largest waves in the world. This is about 45 years ago. And you can surf pipeline without anybody out there practically. Just a couple people. And did that for a few years. And after that, I came back to San Diego ready to take on the world. Glad I did that. San Diego sponsor. Super proud of it. There are about 150 people out of the spot. So it's really impossible to get their local ticket picked out there. This is the first high school in San Diego on your right. Russ School was named that before it became San Diego High, our first high school. The first high school was put together in 1882 with 8 rooms. It was all wood. All that wood's been replaced with cinder blocks and earthquake compliancy. And the first vice principal of the first high school, her name was Kate Sessions. Kate Sessions also has a statue in Balboa Park, and we'll tell you why. And now we're in Balboa Park, Korea. We're talking about this area. Before I do any of the story, I'm looking to my right as I look to my left, but I'm looking for an airplane. Because the airplane likes to fly over this corner of the park quite a lot. In fact, it flies over this part of Balboa Park 600 times a day. And what better a place than to put an outdoor amphitheater for performance arts? So how do they deal with the airplane? Well, they got a little creative. But I see it now, it's coming in kind of hot. So if you're watching the show with this, if you're watching the show with the Trolley Bowl with the plane passing over, it would have sounded like this. And the reason it was interrupted is because every time a plane passed over, they stopped the show. So it was like a street light. So green light meant the show goes on. When it turned yellow, it's stage lighting, that meant that somebody spotted an airplane. So get ready to stop everything. When it went red, they froze on the stage until the plane passed over. Most interrupted show here at the Trolley Bowl, 81 interruptions. 81 planes passed. So I would vote to come back in and talk to you last December, spend about one show, even with an airplane pass. There were a lot of good shows this year. Led Zeppelin, we had Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan played here, the Beatles, we've had some great shows, great musicals. Like I said, I would vote to have it back. The audio is good here, it's just the airplane makes it a little bit interesting because they do stop the show with the plane pass. And there it is right there, Starlight Bowl. 18 world-class museums in Balboa Park. It is the largest city park in the United States at 1,400 acres. We have tennis courts, golf courses. We have 18 world-class museums. We also have the most visited zoo in the United States, the San Diego Zoo, one of the best in the world here in Balboa Park. This is a massive city park, the largest in the country. Trolleys until 4:20 out of this stop. Hop on, hop off all day long. Just do it. So we've got the Comic-Con Museum on my left. That's one of the 18 world-class museums. That's the newest, and it also celebrates 55 years of Comic-Con's history in San Diego. It's always been in San Diego. So we've got a lot of history to talk about there. We have the Automotive Museum next to that, the Air and Space Museum. That works in conjunction with the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. These little buildings over here, this is all part of the international cottages. Each of these represents its own country. There's the House of Israel. You can walk in there on a Saturday or a Sunday. It Sprinkles game is in San Diego. You have the Hotel del Coronado, very successful at everything he did. This is the largest organ pavilion in the world. And he gave it to San Diego in 1915 with one request: have a free concert. They do every Sunday at 2 o'clock. There's the Japanese Friendship Gardens on your right. The big thing is the cherry blossom event that happens in the springtime. The first day of that, 20,000 people go just for that thing. And it gets pretty busy. Man. A lot of stuff going on here almost every day because it's such a gigantic park. There's always things happening here. Balboa Park was built to celebrate the opening of the Panama Canal. That was 1915. I give the city mayor a lot of credit for this idea. It was a small town back in 1915. They had only about 40,000 residents in San Diego. And there was a lot of land available, about 40,000 acres, this close to downtown. So they decided to make something that, similar to Central Park in New York City. The only thing is this one's almost twice as big. This is about 1,400 acres. Central Park is about 865 acres. Absolutely. So that's called El Cid. That is El Cid. I used to laugh at that too when I saw it as a kid. So that's a famous statue right there called El Cid. And it has to go back to the days of Spanish colonialism and it's kind of like Cervantes and all that kind of stuff. And we've got the House of here. That's also known as the Japanese. What is it called? Can't think right now. We've got this California Tower over here. This is a big one. 198 feet tall. And it's got a spiral staircase that will lead you up to the top. And it's a nice looking raptor that's flies up to the red shell hawk. We've got 2 water fountains. The second one's a bit larger. That's where the ruminating space eaters, my favorite museum in the park. That staircase leads to the Timken. That's free. You can walk in and look at a priceless Picasso or a Rembrandt. It won't cost you anything. Walk inside, look at it. We've got the botanical garden behind that. That's also free too. They were renovating that last year, and it's open again to the public. If you want to go to the best restaurant in Balboa Park, go no further than this one. And it's called the Panama 66. Through those arches is where you'll find me and my girlfriend on the warm days like this. Inside they have auditoriums and top-notch jazz on the weekends. It's all free. The food is delicious too. These are the Alcazar Gardens on my left. Hedge maze is patterned the gardens of Sevilla, Spain. On the right, you've got the Old Globe Theater. The La Jolla Playhouse and the Old Globe Theater are the 2 main venues for musicals and plays that oftentimes their productions end up in Broadway, New York City. These are some pretty cool stages. And you'll often find some of the best actors of our day on those stages. So they don't announce the press. They just be watching the show. But it's not look like you're probably right. You think it is. These colonnades done by the Picarelli brothers. Look at the detail right here. What's crazy about all that? They were going to tear the whole thing down after 2 years. That was because they didn't think that many people were going to show up for our park when we opened this up in 1915. They thought maybe 300,000 people were going to show up. But what happened? 3 million people showed up. And that's why this is still here 110 years later. This bridge was also built to celebrate the opening of the Panama Canal. Tallest cantilever bridge in Southern California, the Cabrillo Bridge, stands at 120 feet. And over to your right, there is the San Diego Zoo, a little piece of it. That is the most visited zoo in the entire country. It's a world famous zoo, one of the best in the world. This is only a piece of Balboa Park. It's so gigantic. We have golf courses here, tennis courts, swimming pools, and of course the zoo's in the middle of it all. Downtown skyline on your left. And on the left side of the road, we've got an open area known as the largest of the 3 dog parks in Balboa Park. Places let your dog off leash and be a dog for a change. A day like this, you should see a lot more dogs. So I don't know what's going on today, but if they count dogs, let's see if we can get 20 out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dogs. There's one over there, 6, 7. These are the original ticket booths when they opened up Balboa Park in 1915. Those lawn fields are creased by the Queen of England. That's where they do a lot of lawn bowling, like bocce. And bocce right there. Some dogs. There's a statue of King Sessions on my left. So it looks like Mary Poppins right here. These two people standing next to the statue of Kate Sessions. She planted all the trees here. Otherwise, this would be sagebrush. It wouldn't look like much. But all these diverse trees, and they're well planted, and they're just, it's really well done. This is why she gets the statue. That's a big tree right there. And there's a dog that's 8. There's a one behind. We're not going to get 20, are we? No. There's one way down there. There's 2 down there. 11. There's one right there. There's one home. Well, I don't think we're going to see 20 dogs, so let's do this, bud.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
That's a little Springer Spaniel right there. This neighborhood is called Baker's Hill. Baker's Hill, if you look to your left, you can see downtown. That's where the financial district would be. Where the financiers, lawyers, auctions down, work was down there. They didn't want to live down there. They wanted to live here, local enough to get where it is. Things to do with Baker's Hill, if you go to time to get the beach walk. It's a hike I recommend for anybody who wants to get through your side of the yard. Yeah, I know. You want to do it another day. The second bridges urban hike is worth doing. There are a lot of deep canyons in this neighborhood. You can't see them because it looks like a flat piece of land, but the canyons have these footbridges that are over 100 years old. And that's the 7 bridges urban hike. The best of the footbridges is on Spruce Street. This is Laurel, go up about 8 blocks to S, letter S is Spruce. And that bridge is a suspension bridge, about 300 feet long. It's a footbridge, 300 feet long, 90 feet at its highest point, crossing over the canyon. Built in 1912, but it's held together with cable, so it bounces up and down while you're on it. And it's, the cables are about that big, built in 1912, but it's fun one to get across. It's my favorite one. That's the Tim King Mansion right there. He has a free museum in Balboa Park. There's his house. He invented a type of roller ball bearing still used in cars today. Tim King was in the 1800s. He lived in San Diego the last years of his life. He was born in Germany. Timken operates in 42 countries, and it's a multi-billion-dollar company. This is the Long Waterman Mansion on my right. Waterman was the 7th governor of California. The curved glass is something America couldn't produce, so we brought it in from Europe, and the tree in the corner was planted by Kate Sessions. It is the second oldest magnolia in the state of California. They tried selling this place last year for $7 million. Successful because it's historic property. So it's got a zone as historic property. Because of that, you can't change anything about the property inside or out. And for a developer, $7 million would have been no big deal. They would have torn it down if they could have been replaced it with a box. And then they would sell all boxes for $1 million. So for $7 million, you probably make about $25 million. But because it's historic property, you can't do that. You can't tear it down. That kept that place from being knocked down. If you buy that as a private citizen, you get a big discount on your property tax. You get about 90% discount, but you can't change the property inside or out. Right now, we're in the San Francisco portion of our trip. Now, one of my friends has a historic property in South Balboa Park. We went to high school together in this neighborhood, and he's got one of the best names for a lawyer. This guy was born with his name. He didn't change his name. He was born with his name. His name is Rob. He's good too. Don't mess with Rob. He's really good at golf too. Great chess player. We go back since we were about 13 years old. And our weather in San Diego is famous for being mild all year long. It doesn't get that hot or that cold all year. It stays about 70 degrees. If you get away from the water, it gets much more extreme. But right at the water, it stays fairly dry. Very low humidity, means mosquitoes don't live here. We get about 9.9 inches of rain here. But if you get away from the water, like if you go up about 3.5 hours northeast of us, over in the Death Valley, that's an extreme desert. And one day last summer, it was 129 degrees. It was 75 out here the same day. And 2 months ago, we had about 2.5 feet of snow in Big Bear, and about 2.5 hours northeast of us. It was 60 out here. The snow gets down, so it doesn't get that hot or that cold all year long. But you're close to it. If you want to go to the snow, Hold on, hold on, hold on. One word. So this neighborhood is the most changed neighborhood. Coronado is the least changed. It's like exactly the way it did when I was younger, 60 years ago. 60 years ago, this neighborhood was a major fishing village. That's long gone. Between 1930 to 1977, we caught more tuna a year than anywhere else in the entire world. We were the capital of the world for catching tuna. We caught about 80% of America's tuna right here. And it was mostly single-story houses. Like when you look towards the bay, they have a big building, 2 blocks of view. You always see the water. There were 8,000 Italian Americans families that live in this neighborhood. This is the largest little Italy in the country by area. There's 15 city blocks here. You can put the Bronx in here, combine it with the Hill in St. Louis, combine those two with a third little Italy, North Beach in San Francisco, and you still have room left over for more people. That's how huge this place is. But this place has changed. It's no longer a fishing village. It's more of a cosmopolitan neighborhood, and the rent starts at about $3,500 a month for a small studio. So yeah, it costs about what it costs to live in New York City to live here. But when I was a kid, this was a real happening fishing village. And the way we used to catch fish, my mom's side of the family was involved in this industry for many generations. The way we caught fish for about half of the years we were at the top was pole fishing. All it was bamboo pole, a line, and a hook. That's all it was. There was no reel, and there was no bait on the hook. And the way we do it, we flip out an empty hook somehow and catch a fish. The fish weighed between 50 and 300 pounds. You have to flip that fish over the side of the boat. Sometimes 2 guys on a pole, sometimes even 3. This little house right here. That's what it used to be like in Little Italy. The whole family would live in a little house like this. Dad would be out fishing, Mom worked the canneries along the harbor. The doors were open for us kids, never locked. The little ones come home at sunset. Those were simpler times when I was younger. My cousin Mary and her husband Lou lived in a house just like that on this corner. And between 1930 to about 1954, that house has been gone about 20 years, so it's been replaced about 20 years ago. But they've been gone for a long time. He changed the industry with cousin Lou who lived in that house. It was all pole fishing until 1959. And the rest of the world caught up with us. They saw how well we did that pole fishing thing, except this, they did not pay their guys very much money. We paid by shares. So if you caught a lot of fish, everybody shared in the wealth. It wasn't a minimum wage job, which everybody else did. So we could compete with that and make a little bit more of that moment. This is the way it used to be a little bit. You can always see the water. This is called the Piazza della Familia. We brought this in about 7 years ago. This is pretty new. So that's an artificial remembrance of or homage to the old building. That was Ivy Street. He took it out and made that really happen. So yeah, pole fishing went from pole fishing to nets back in 1959. And my cousin Lou was really wondering about the nets of the world. He gave it to all the captains. We had about 55 captains. In San Diego, all families, so everybody shared in that too. And he asked for nothing in exchange. You're gonna go from 3 tons of fish a day to 35 tons a day. This will keep us in business longer. So that's what it did. That's what it did too. And since then, everybody else copied the netting, and consequently, we're catching too much fish around the world. So that's the problem too. We're overfishing around the world. The 2 big things that happen in Little Italy every year are both art walks. Last art walk was 3 weekends ago. We had 300,000 people show up for that. No exaggeration. That's all the people here. And it's tough to get a parking spot. And if you want to get some good food, this spot and the next spot are the 2 best places for food, in my opinion. If you like Italian food, this is your place. It's not exclusively Italian, but there's a lot more Italian food down here. If you want Mexican food, the next stop is Old Town, and Old Town has a lot of very good Mexican restaurants. We go to Old Town more often. It's easy to get a barbecue down there. So we'll be there tonight at Harney Sushi. It's a top 10 restaurant down there. Not expensive either. And all these restaurants out here are really standalone restaurants. If these were just in one area by itself, they would command a higher price for the food. But because they're all in one little area, you get a better quality food for a lower price because they're all competing with each other. So we all benefit from that. Same with Old Town. They have a lot of good restaurants in a small area too. You're going to do some food down here and get out right now. Fellini's is my favorite restaurant. It's right in front of us, a block and a half, called F-I-L-I-D-I-S. And it's Italian. If you go about 3 doors down, you can say hi to my sister. She manages Mancato. And so they're Italian restaurants. It's on the left side of the street. They're fantastic. No bad food in Little Italy. Impossible to find. You will not find it. Everybody, let's continue our tour. I want to thank you all for being here. Before my new guests or some of the guests I've seen before. We're talking about Little Italy, we're talking about food, and now we're talking about outside seating. They brought this in 2020 as a way to prevent bankruptcy because he could not eat inside during the peak of the pandemic. So this was a reaction to that, and this action prevented bankruptcy. No restaurants went out of business. But also I found out it's a nice thing. I would vote to keep this outside seating forever. When you combine good food with good weather, which we get both here, you actually do better than the single thing separate. So it's a synergistic relationship. 1 + 1 = more than 2. Here's a review of the Piazza Salon. That's only about 7 years old. That's a new addition to Little Italy. Throwback to our older days. No, that's Italian for grandmother right there. And we've got somebody who's seen it all. Everybody say hi to Nick over here. Hey, Nick. If you waved at this guy, you just got protected. That is the dawn of Little Italy right there, guys. I think he's been here forever. Believe me, that's my favorite place right there. My mom and dad did it when they opened this place up 1950. There are 16. That's the original one, number 1. And they spread all the way up to Bremerton, Washington. There's about 10 of these just in Southern California. They all taste a little different, even though it's all family owned. They don't share recipes, so they're all a little bit different. People getting a picture of the Piazza Salon. John Basilone was the most decorated enlisted man of World War II. Went in as a gunner in the Army, took some time off after his first tour to drive a truck in New York, where he's from. Then he went into the war the second time as a Marine. My sister manages Big Cocktail right there, the one next to it called Mellow. She also manages that one too. They have the best salad dressing in the world. No kidding here. And my sister Francesca got a little bit of that. I have yet to go in that restaurant, but my younger sister got some of the salad dressing. And we put it on romaine lettuce, nothing complicated, just rinse it out, chop it up, put it in a bowl, then we spread that little Caesar salad dressing on. It's all family recipes going back generations. They took one bite, and a tear came out of my mouth. I'm not kidding. It's that good. Food down here is special. Enjoy it anytime you want it, year round. We have delicious food. Consistently, never a bad restaurant. And we've got a Shake Shack too, right across the street. Recently ranked number 3 of hamburger chains around our country. In-N-Out Burgers, Southern California In-N-Out is number 1. Habit, Santa Barbara, that's number 2 right now. Last year it was the opposite. Habit was 1, In-N-Out Burger 2. So they're the top 2 and both of them Southern California. I like them both too. They're very good. Multi-generational, going around for 70, 75 years consistently, bringing that quality we're all looking for. One last restaurant I want to mention up on my right, this is the Ballast Point Brewery Company. And when they opened their doors, everybody copied this business model in San Diego, and San Diego changed. It became the capital of the world for microbreweries. We have more microbrew in San Diego than any city in the world. And a lot of good beer here too. Well, that's about it for Little Italy. Now we're going to do some more Italian music. We're going to have Dean Martin wistfully sing this right out of this beautiful neighborhood. If you know the words, sing along with Dino. Here it is.
In Napoli, when love is deep, when poison kills, is what they say.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's some water. When the world seems to shine like you had too much wine, that's some water. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll simply the better. Hearts will play, tippy-tippy-tay, tippy-tippy-tay, like a game.
And left. This did not change anything for the local people. This was still Ruby Island. But it did change in 1769. Father Hannibal Serra established the first permanent European settlement on the west coast of North America, right here in Old Town. There are 21 missions beginning with San Diego, and that is why we call Old Town the birthplace of California. 1845, the last Mexican governor of California was Pio Pico. He was in Old Town San Diego attending a wedding. The young couple, 18 years old, were gifted the island of Coronado as a wedding gift. Amazing as that sounds, it's all true, but they sold it 6 months later because the island of Coronado didn't have any water on there yet. So the Hotel del Coronado had been built. That's the first thing they built on the island. There's no natural spring there. The native people never lived there also. So they sold it 6 months later for 1,000 pieces of silver. Mr. Simmons owned it. He kept it for about 42 years before selling it to the people who built the hotel, Elisha Babcock, and here's the story, in the year 1887. But they had to sell it 3 years later because it was hard to keep it in business. The population of San Diego was only about 5,000 people. But they built the largest wooden structure on the west coast of North America, but they brought water to the island, and now people are moving to San Diego, and especially Coronado, where they can enjoy that gorgeous beach. This is the El Campo Santo Cemetery on your way. The second oldest cemetery in the city of San Diego. Looks like a small cemetery, but it's actually quite large. It goes well past these walls of adobe, up and over the hill, past Pioneer Park, and on the left it goes all the way to the freeway a quarter mile away. And the grave markers are also on the sidewalks. They gave the sidewalks right over the graves. There are grave markers underneath this trolley too. These streets are paved over the graves. This became a city back in 1769. It didn't become a state park not until 1968 when they could preserve some of this history. And welcome to Old Town. Miguel's right back to the stop sign. Excellent place for food. So it's kind of like Coyote. Look at all the people here. This is always the case. This place is always busy and they great food here. Women making stone ground tortillas right outside the windows without the salt and sugar we're all used to. Try it out. They're delicious. Same with this restaurant. They're making some stone ground tortillas. And this place has been around 50 years. Family favorite of ours. They have giant plates of food and it's excellent food. We'd love to come here. We're coming here tonight. This not this one, but the one next to it over here. That is the Whaley House right there. This is the most haunted house in America. Is that true? Could be. But this was built in 1850 for the Whaley family who moved out here from New York. It became the largest brick structure in Southern California while the family was living here. In the downstairs area, just behind that lady with the red dress, that became a courthouse while the family was living here. And while the family lived here, in the backyard of the courthouse where these people are getting a tour by that carriage, that was where the gallows was. This is why they were living here. They were hanging people right there. They say some of those spirits haven't left the property yet. Is that true? It could be. Now, if you do the night tour, you'll get a better feel for it. I've done the day tour when I was 9 years old with my school on a field trip. It's a tragic story. It's a true one, too. But the night tour is the same story when things get quiet out here. And you can get a better feel for what's still here, what energy still has left. And we're on the side. I'm on the side. There's something real night tour, which happened last year with my girlfriend. We were in the El Campo Santo Cemetery. She took a picture in that cemetery. Something weird happened to her camera. Something physical did. We brought to the attention of the docent. He's done the tour for 32 years, and he was able to explain what happened. And he said, this is why we call it serial haunted. This is the most, this place over here on my right, the Mormon Italian Historic Site. They're playing the famed Wallace March in American history. They marched from Council Bluffs, Iowa, all the way to San Diego. Wallace March in American history. They marched to participate in support of the Mexican-American War of 1845-46. By the time they arrived in San Diego 2,000 miles later, it was 1847. And the War of 1844-46, well, it was already over. And our day is getting closer to the end, but we still have plenty of time to get back on tour if you want to. I want to point out another restaurant for you at the end of this road. A little sign that says Barra Barra by that fusion pole or Bougainvillea. That's an excellent place.